start with a very serious subject. Kent and Medway have a higher suicide rate than the national average. It's such a big problem that in Kent there's extra money from central government for suicide prevention services. But it's only £80,000 and the work is to be carried out by local charities. Now, some fear that that response is woefully inadequate. Briohny Williams spoke to a mother from Gillingham whose 22-year-old daughter killed herself.
Every day I light a candle for her and say thank you to God for her. And the lessons that she's taught me, it's changed me as a person. Because it'll never go, it'll never leave you. I'll never forget having to identify her in the mortuary and, you know, prepare a funeral. You never think you're going to have to do that for your child. And suicide is a very different grief to other griefs. So, yeah. I think about her in the morning. She's the first thing I think of every morning and the last thing of every night. But I say thank you for her now, rather than crying that she's gone in the way that she felt she had no other choice, obviously.
Angela Lee's daughter Danielle had bipolar. She took her own life 6 years ago. Angela believes Danielle would still be alive if there was a clearer pathway of treatment for those who suffer from mental health issues.
There isn't the level of support. You can be waiting for hours for somebody to come out and see you, and, they're left to pay their own bills and do all these things. Well, if you're mentally ill, you can't do that. And her doctor described that she had a cancer of her mind. And from our own experience, we've had family with cancer, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be treated, but their treatment is automatic and instant and it's there. And it's not the same with mental health, certainly not. You have to fight for it.
Last year, £262 million was spent by the NHS on mental health services across Kent. Latest figures show suicide rates in Kent and Medway are above the national average, particularly for men. Which is why the area has been given extra money for suicide prevention. Loretta Kavanagh from Kent and Medway NHS says more can be done to integrate care for mental and physical health.
I've probably spent a career really seeking to equalise the availability and the quality of specialist mental health services. I think too, though, that through the Sustainability and Transformation Partnership, we're very much mindful about integrating physical and mental health care. So yes, we need specialist mental health services for people who've got a severe mental illness, but few of us will experience a severe mental illness. They can be quite rare, but most of us will have physical health problems, see our GP and other health care services. So we really want those services in time to be treating you mind and body. Here and nationally, there's a correlation between higher rates of deaths by suicide and more deprivation. And for us, particular priorities might include Thanet, Swale and Shepway and Dover districts. We would like to reach the parts that often, as the NHS or as health services, we don't.
So we know that there are links between suicide and deprivation. Across the South East region, and employment, financial problems and work-related issues were all noted by the coroner from those who took their own lives. So is there more the government can be doing?
The reasons are really complicated and deprivation is part of it. So on the one hand, there's what the NHS can do, and the wider picture is what a whole range of services can do. Actually, one piece of work that's going on, funded by the NHS, is to better understand what's behind the level of suicides in Kent. What the government is doing is spending an extra £1 billion on mental health by 2020, 2021. In every area of Kent, mental health spending has gone up, in fact, over the last year or so. So we are seeing more money going into mental health. Hand in hand, what we really need is to boost the workforce, because actually you can't just spend money without having the people to do the work. So that's what I really focus my attention on.
For Angela Lee, it's also about raising awareness and getting more people talking about mental health before they reach crisis point.
I can remember getting the phone call from Gary's brother saying she's dead. On that Monday morning, I went to see her GP because I hadn't slept all night. And she said, but of course, Mrs. Lee, Danielle's bipolar. And I was crying. I said, what's bipolar? And her GP literally just closed her eyes and went like this. She said, has nobody's ever sat you down and explained the illness? And I said, no. And then immediately when we'd left there and gone home, obviously I went onto the internet And I was just crying. I said, oh my God, Gary. It was like all these light bulbs going on for her behaviours, and, you know, it explained everything. But it was too late.